Everyone, and thank you for joining me here on My Old Random Photos, Part 2. Before we get started, I wanted to elaborate just a little bit on my ramblings in the last one. But before we do, I wanted to show you something that I thought was a little interesting. I'm working at this house, or was working at this house, and besides the interesting brickwork and shields and brick itself, they had this old, what I'm guessing, or what I've been told is like a tax assessment photo from the 1930s. But something I was interested in was these young trees out here in the side yard, because this kind of gives me an idea of when these trees were planted. And I have no idea how old these would be at this stage. This one here that we're going to be looking at is an oak tree of some kind. But here's the house today, and there's the tree. Pretty big. And something else, the reason I'm really interested in this is because a lot of the streets in Kansas City are lined with these trees. And in some areas, the trees seeming older than what the houses are claimed to have been built, or the date that they claim that they were built. So basically, I'm trying to figure out the timeline of the lined streets with trees and when the houses were built. Here's just a little collage. This tree no longer existing. They put in a sewer drain, looks like, at some point. But back to time, money, and perfection. This is one of my 2 projects I was dealing with in this house. Somebody tiled over sheetrock that was nailed down every 2 inches. But my whole point of the rambling in the last video is, here's a little my handiwork. It hasn't been grouted at this stage or trimmed. But the point was, in this realm, if you've ever tried to lay any tile in something, or a older house, I guess is one way to put it, it's very difficult to achieve perfection unless you completely tear out the entire thing, reframe the walls, level the floor, etc., etc. You're never going to get perfection. I don't care who you are. You can get close, pretty close. I think I did a pretty good job here, considering what I'm dealing with. And this was the bathroom. Same deal. Sheetrock nailed down every 2 inches. Tile on top. This is part of my leveling of the floor. And of course, I'd put concrete board over that, but this is the end tile result minus the grout and everything else finish wise, which I'm pretty dang happy with. But it's hard to achieve perfection when you are constantly worried about time and money. If those 2 things were zero object, Would you be able to achieve perfection all the time? That's my point. It seems as though the old world, it it looks as though they didn't have very many needs or wants. But let's get started. I wanted to include a few of these photos that were in here of this burnt out brick structure, as I thought it had just a tiny bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? Relevance to the question of a lot of these so-called great fires looking like mostly anything wood or even steel in here took the brunt of the heat. Got a few bricked up windows here. These have arches on top, if you can see that. And some interesting... Actually, I thought that this was a little bit of intricacy up here, but I'm thinking this was where either joists or rafters were. Here's another view. I don't know, I had some weird fascination with destruction at this time in my life. I'm not sure if this is steel right here. It looks like it. Being pretty warped. A better view of one of these arches. This one I put in here, wanted you to see how thick this wall was. Pretty sure it's all brick, but I mean that's gotta be a good 1.5 feet, I would think. And then we move on to, just got a few of these. Just a couple little standalone, what looks like they used to be apartments at one time. Pretty cool, interesting brickwork, stone foundation. Nice front porch view here. But these corners are excellent. A random alley view. This is somewhere close to downtown, if I remember. And this one, it looks like there is an original brick road on this one. Once again, I don't know why there's no option, or I can't find it at least, to be able to zoom in on these photos. If anybody has any advice, I would appreciate it. Or maybe I should just search the interwebs. random tubs and some interesting brick back here, looking pretty rough. And the tail end of what looks like a Buick Regal or something. Town topic: if you're ever in Kansas City, find a town topic and have yourself a burger. Fat, greasy burger. And this big brick, looks like a smokestack. I can't tell and I don't remember, but I thought that was interesting. Maybe there's something missing back here. There's side of a building with some interesting brickwork. Of course, like most, all the fronts have been converted in some fashion, for entertainment or eating. This one is really cool. I wish I had more photos. I've got maybe 3 or 4 in here. It's got really nice carpentry work, among other things. And this was on the east side of town, if I remember, the northeast, which is a little bit of a rough area. Looking like it wasn't always that way. Kind of reminding me of the work on one of those houses in Springfield, especially the color scheme. Got at least four different colors going on here. That takes a crazy amount of time to paint in that detail. Very tedious. Here's a further away view. This funky foundation. I doubt this thing is still standing. The foundation line up to the brick, none of this makes any sense at all to build like this. To me, anyways. Up above, or partly above the arches. This corner is interesting. Looking kind of brickish in that corner. Limestone colored, or sandstone. Piece of hardware, random piece of hardware that was in this collection. And if memory serves, I think this was on a door in the Union Station downtown. Seeing a lot of this 8-pointed stuff recently. And this was like I don't know if it's still there. I'm sure it is. I haven't been, but I plan on going back. sort of a 50s style diner in the Union Station. Another spot on the list, I want to get some boots on the ground for you guys, give you a little bit of a up close view. And that's, again, me and my weirdo filters. And I got a few cathodes in here, random. I have no idea where they are. Obviously something I found interesting at the time. Actually, I lied. I do know where this one is, and I'm going to visit it at some point also. They've actually done quite a bit of renovating to this structure, so we can check it out and see what kind of progress they've made over the years, if any. This one, very cool. I want to say this one's in the Westport area, which is a little area as you're heading north towards downtown. Mostly a bar district. And this one, I do know where it is. Also, it's on Ward Parkway, and we're going to be looking at this one as well. Kind of ruined my surprise on that one, but this one I have no idea where it is. Very cool windows. I haven't really seen a lot of that. I have seen these 4-petaled flower looking symbols quite a bit. Sorry if I don't know the correct terminology for those. And another one, I'm not sure where this one is. Sorry I don't have more info for you guys, and also I'm sorry that I kind of blew this whole photo thing up. I was pretty excited. Ended up I didn't have quite as many photos as I thought I did, so at least we got a part 2 on the brewery and a few other randoms. This one's really awesome. These arches up front here. Man, I wish I knew where this was. I will find it. And now we take a little trip to St. Louis, Missouri. There were a few photos from St. Louis in there. I took a random trip out there. I believe this 2009. Got a few photos of some structures. The front of this thing, I don't know what they did to this, but and then it had these on either side. advance. I don't know. I don't think I got a picture of the other one. I don't know if it said the same thing or something different. I was not very thorough, apparently. And it's also in St. Louis. Very close up here. I can't remember if I got one from further back, I hope. Not sure, these look kind of like tiles or something. This one's very intricate and detailed. Windows not seeming to match. I guess I didn't have a further back view of that one, unfortunately. Got my filter on this thing. A lot of windows. This one had these really tall brick arches going around the window on each floor, which is pretty cool. And stone up over the first level or floor here. It's interesting. And now we're going to go up in the arch. There's a few photos from up here of the city. And I'm not sure what this is designated as, this big domed building here in the middle of all of this ugliness. Somebody from St. Louis, holler, let me know what this is. I'm sure it's some kind of federal building or the likes. It's a little old world trying to poke its head out back here somewhere. Sports ball. And that's gonna wrap this one up. That was completely raw and uncut. So I hope you enjoyed this last exploration of my old random photos. Thanks again.